Well, let's talk about the energy complex, specifically oil, but also we'll get some natural gas in there, too. Prices rising at the beginning of the week. Among the major issues for investors to focus on, output from OPEC. This might have been it yesterday. Canadian wildfires threatening supplies in the U.S. rig count. Join us now, Amrita Sen, Energy Aspects founder, director of market intelligence. Sometimes we forget about refining, too, in terms of just overall trying to figure out the whole complex and why prices do things. But that was weird yesterday because the headline was continued production increases and maybe even higher increases, and yet we had that big jump. Was that due solely to worries about the wildfires, Amrita?
I think it's a combination of factors. The first thing, like you said, OPEC plus accelerating increases in July, about 400,000 barrels per day. But that was expected and it was priced in. What then started happening last week, towards the end of last week, some media reports, some analysts started to say, oh, OPEC plus might be increasing more than the 411. They might be doing 800,000 barrels per day and so on. So I think the market got a bit spooked. You know, we kept saying, no, it is going to be 3 times, i.e. the 411. And then I think a lot of people actually went short on that. Then, of course, when the confirmation came that they were actually only going to increase by 411, some of those shorts covered. And then the second thing, as you could rightly point out, is the wildfires. We've got about 350,000 barrels per day of Canadian production shut in, potentially more that is at risk of being offline. We've also got some kind of noise out of Libya. No production losses yet, but potentially some going on there as well. So there's quite a few supply risks, geopolitical headlines as well. Russia-Ukraine talks obviously didn't go very well. We had the weekend Ukrainian attacks on Russian bases. So all of that kind of led to the rally we saw yesterday.
Is it going to be short-lived? We had someone yesterday, a guest, not an oil expert, but he's willing to make forecasts anyway. He said this is the beginning of a big uptrend, back to 70 or whatever. It looks to me like this could be something that, I don't know, sort of peters out. I don't know. I know as much as he does. So I think down, he thinks up. What do you think? 60 still above or below that is going to be where we are for a while?
So the right here, right now story is bullish. We are low on inventories. There are these supply outages. The problem is the outlook isn't. All of us are calling for these big builds from Q4 onwards because OPEC Plus is bringing back barrels and the demand outlook isn't particularly good, right? We've had some Chinese macro data today, which isn't healthy either. The trade war hasn't gone away by any stretch of imagination. And I think that is the challenge. And I think that's why oil's rallies will be capped. We are already starting to see producers hedge anytime there's a rally. So I can't see how we go to 70 or 80 unless there's an actual big geopolitical outage. If that happens, of course, we can get there. If that doesn't happen, I think towards the end of the year, we'll probably get more downward pressure on prices than upward.
So it's going to be hot this summer. That's a pretty good prediction, usually, although it hasn't been yet. Again, like 50 degrees this morning. But what about natural gas? We're going to need a lot of air conditioning?
Yeah, I mean, look, weather is, like you say, if we started talking about weather, we could be here for a while. I mean, in some parts of the world, it's hot, Middle East for sure. But yeah, I mean, if it's going to be hot, and yeah, we are expecting more kind of gas demand this season. But again, I think the bigger driver is probably going to be on the production side. As oil prices are lower, you get lower oil production and therefore less associated gas production. And I think that's going to be the thing to watch out for.
I see. Okay, and then we always have, I think, hurricane season's coming up.
Absolutely,
again.
Never far away.
Right. It's supposed to be they were
wrong. It started already.
I think they were wrong last year. It wasn't as bad as we had a couple bad ones. But what is they're saying this is going to be an active year, or I don't know. Check the Farmer's Almanac.
Yeah, the saying is they're talking. Yeah, I think they're talking about an active year again. But like you said, the last couple of years haven't been. But look, I think you mentioned refining. I think that is worth a quick word on. Refining is actually very tight. And you and I consume petrol and diesel. We don't really consume crude oil, right? And I think one of the things you've seen, even as oil prices have come down, we haven't seen the same impact on gasoline and diesel prices because we're shutting down refineries everywhere, Europe, US. That's going to remain tight, and we should watch that space.
Becky has like 4 SUVs. I don't know why every year isn't really.
No, I don't. I have a Toyota Sienna, which is.
I thought you used to have some big.
I still have one big SUV.
All right, so it's going to be an active her because of her. Amrita, thank you.